The Competition Commission says it's uncovered a string of anti-competitive behaviours in the fresh produce market that hampered transformation, negatively affecting consumers and the economy. The Commission launched the Fresh Market Inquiry Report in Pretoria today, delivering 31 recommendations and remedial actions. Here to tell us a little bit more is Competition Commission Head of Communications, Sipho Ngwema. Very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. This is an inquiry that's unveiled that supermarket pricing has presented high markups. Talk to us about how this was all established.
Good evening, Mpho, and thank you very much for giving us the opportunity. Indeed, in terms of our extensive investigation, we find that there is no transparency in terms of how goods are then priced in the supermarkets, and we have also seen that there's a difference in terms of the prices that we see at the farmers level and then at the retail level. And part of this, it's what we have identified in terms of the barriers to competition, because we have seen and uncovered significant barriers within the fresh produce market, and those are in the municipal markets, the high input cost, as we have alluded, with regards also to the pricing at the end, which we see at the supermarkets, but also we see no access and even participation of small and previously disadvantaged farmers in this sector. So the prices that most of the time we would see in the supermarkets versus the prices that you see in terms of the inputs and other related areas within these, we seem to see a marked difference in that regard.
You mentioned how small farmers were potentially not able to be part of the economy insofar as the outcomes report. How does uncovering the anti-competitive practices within the fresh produce value chain, how did that impact the end user, the consumer, as well as the bigger impact on the economy?
Part of the biggest problem is that if you do not have all the relevant players in the fresh produce market, you will then find a situation where the consumer is disadvantaged because they do not have access to everybody. And when you have more competitors, it's easier for the consumer to be exposed to better quality and to better prices. And of course, if there is any sector of the community that is excluded from economic activity, you are then going to see that impact in the general economy of the country. And of course, with regards to transformation issues, you see that there is no economic activity, particularly among the previously disadvantaged communities. And therefore, we have made recommendations with regards to the facilitation of small business, but also we are looking at even agents where virtually there's no participation of black agents in this regard. They are very important in terms of the value chain because they are the ones who facilitate the produce between the farmers and ensuring that in the end, the produce ends up in the shelves and for consumers to buy. And in very many of these cases, the access by farmers to the market exposes consumers to better prices, and as I said earlier, to quality products. And this is what then distorts competition with regards to this trading, but also it affects consumers because then they have no access to all the produce that is available, and also they have no access to better prices that may be offered by some of the role players.
As you highlight some of the potential opportunities for growth and inclusion within the sector, what changes are you hoping to see with those recommendations?
With the findings and the recommendations, we're hoping that, first of all, there's going to be better activity with regards to the participation of the previously disadvantaged and small farmers, because those, as I said, they're very important in terms of their own produce and bringing their own produce to the fore, particularly in the rural areas, but also in the areas where you or the consumers do not have access to produce. You must remember, most of the time there's going to be interaction between big retailers and farmers, but also that has got its own dynamics and complications. However, if you bring small farmers you're likely to see better prices, and you're likely to see variance in terms of produce and that consumers can have access to. But also just in terms of the economic activity, as you know that in terms of economy, the more small business that you have, the better access consumers will have to produce, because these are the people that interact with the majority of people, particularly the poor.
It says that the agricultural sector is essentially the cornerstone of South Africa's economy. What about the impact on food security? How will this report assist when it comes to the very crucial aspect of food security in South Africa?
You must remember, we are talking about 51 billion with regards to fresh produce in South Africa, and I think about 21 billion of that is found in the fresh produce market. And those fresh produce market, it's a channel that is easily accessible, or that should be easily accessible in order for consumers at the lower level to have access to produce. And that can assist. Remember, agriculture, a bulk of South African consumers depend on agriculture, and agriculture is the cornerstone of our economy and in terms of food security. And therefore, if we're able to have impact on the prices, we have impact on the activity and the kind of competition that takes place there, which is fair and which also makes sure that consumers have access to better prices and quality. We are able, therefore, to improve the economy in the end, and the participation of the economy, but also the access of the poor to produce in general.
The Trade and Industry Minister, Parkstau, has called this report a call to action when it comes to collaboration and ensuring that those recommendations are seen through. What kind of components do you think will be needed here to really follow through?
Undoubtedly, we have been interacting with stakeholders with regards to some of the preliminary recommendations, and some of them were able to change given the inputs that they've given. And I think we are looking at ensuring that we need to tighten our oversight and to make sure that we continue working with stakeholders in order to implement the recommendations. And that is going to assist, because many of the role players have made input with regards to the recommendations, and therefore once those areas improve, we are able to ensure that there's efficiency in terms of the value chain, there's better prices, and also, as you said, there's advancement of small business and previously disadvantaged farmers, and that gives access to the public and consumers to better prices, as I said, and to access to better quality produce, and that assists the economy and helps advance a stronger economy.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for speaking to us this evening.